Hello and thanks for joining us. This is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon Ofem. First, our top stories. NDC granted access to upload candidates on INEC portal. Fresh crisis hit parties as INEC open portals ahead 2027. Another batch of evacuated Nigerians arrive in Lagos from South Africa. Outside Nigeria, U.S. Supreme Court hands Trump 3-1 defeat in key rulings. And in sports, Morocco underlines Africans' hopes by beating Netherlands on penalties. Those are our top stories. Details coming up now. First, on the news, the national leader of the Nigeria Democratic Congress (NDC), Henry Serike Dixon, has announced that the party has been granted access to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) portal to upload the names of its qualified candidates for the 2027 general elections. Dixon made the disclosure Monday in a statement posted on its X platform, while also revealing that the party had filed an appeal and an application for a stay of execution against a recent court ruling affecting its status. According to him, the appeal and accompanying applications have been served on the INEC chairman and the commission, urging them to act in accordance with the law. He maintained that the NDC remains a duly registered political party that has participated in all electoral processes so far and has already concluded its nomination exercises across the country. Dixon disclosed that only the administrative process of submitting candidates' names remained, and that the party had already been granted access to the INEC portal. He noted that in line with the INEC timetable, the party has until July 11 to upload the names of its National Assembly candidates and until July 17 for governorship and state House of Assembly candidates. Dixon thanked all aspirants who participated in the party's primaries, acknowledging that although the exercises were not perfect, they were conducted under challenging circumstances for a newly registered political party with a large number of contestants. It disclosed that the reconciliation effort had commenced to unite members who were unsuccessful in the primaries, assuring them that they will be accommodated in the party's campaigns, committees, and other structures. The former Bayelsa State governor also stressed the need to safeguard Nigeria's democracy and democratic system, warning against attempts to weaken the country's multi-party democracy. Dixon commended INEC for what he described as its professionalism, particularly in complying with court directives on the registration of the NDC and two other political parties. He also praised the Commission's decisions to oppose moves seeking the deregistration of some opposition parties and its recognition of the leadership of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) following a court order. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission's INEC portal access for the 2027 election has sparked fresh power struggles within major political parties as rival factions and state chapters dispute control of candidate uploads and nomination lists ahead of the deadline. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike-backed faction of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has commenced the upload of its candidate for the 2027 general elections to the INEC portal after receiving INEC's access code. PDP National Organizing Secretary Umar Bature, in an exclusive interview, confirmed that the party has received all necessary documents from INEC for submission of its candidate. However, a member of the Tenimu Turaki-led PDP Interim National Working Committee, also speaking on condition of anonymity, He said the faction had yet to receive the INEC access code. He expressed confidence that the courts would resolve the party's leadership dispute in its favor before the submission deadline. Although he declined to comment directly on the access code, the Turaki-led Interim National Working Committee's Publicity Secretary Ini Ememobong described the commission under Professor Joasha Mukwiton as the most contentious INEC leadership ahead of an election. The Supreme Court, in a split 3-2 judgment delivered on April 30, invalidated the PDP National Convention in Ibadan on November 15 and 16, 2025, which produced the Turaki leadership and was supported by Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde. Following the ruling, the party's Board of Trustees, led by Adolphus Wabara, reconstituted Turaki and others as an interim National Working Committee. Since then, the interim leadership has operated alongside the INEC-recognized faction aligned with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in Nyesom Wike. Responding to questions, INEC said several political parties had begun collecting their access codes ahead of upcoming electoral activities, while reaffirming that it is recognizing only the leadership of the PDP endorsed by the court. INEC National Commissioner, speaking on the development, that Mohammed Haruna on Monday told journalists that political parties have been collecting their nomination codes since June 26. Addressing questions on the PDP, Haruna said the commission only recognized the faction upheld by the court, while the INEC recognized leadership led by Abdurrahman Mohammed and National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu conducted the sale of expression of interest and nomination forms under the commission's supervision. The Turaki-led faction also issued forms to aspirants despite lacking INEC recognition and oversight. According to INEC's 2027 timetable, parties were to receive a portal access code for candidate uploads on June 26, while submission deadline is July 18. Another batch of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa arrived in Lagos on Tuesday as part of the federal government's ongoing voluntary repatriation program. The Air Peace flight carrying about 271 Nigerians landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport shortly after 11 a.m. after departing Johannesburg at about 5 a.m. local time. Officials of the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), the Nigeria Immigration Service (NIS), and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM) were on hand to receive the returnees. The latest evacuation is part of the federal government's ongoing efforts to assist Nigerians who have voluntarily chosen to return home amid rising anti-immigration tensions in South Africa. The exercise comes against the backdrop of a June 30 deadline declared by vigilante groups and other organizations demanding the departure of undocumented migrants from the country. Similarly, South African police deployed to head off unrest and sparks and protests on Tuesday, the unofficial deadline set by anti-immigration groups for undocumented foreign nationals to leave, which has already pushed thousands to flee. Officers were in force to prevent violence and looting by the xenophobic groups, while hundreds of foreign nationals took refuge in several cities urgently seeking help to leave. Most shops stayed shuttered and the streets of downtown Johannesburg were unusually quiet, while police fanning out across the city as commuters made their way to work. The protests have been mobilized by a loose coalition of minor political parties and small citizen-led vigilante groups, which seem well organized and well-resourced, analysts say, and have a strong presence on social media that includes disinformation debunked by several media organizations. In the southeast city of Durban, small groups of protesters in Zulu attire carrying sticks and shields gathered at a park singing and chanting Abahambe, which means let them go, as security forces kept watch. At least 2 Mozambicans, an Ethiopian and a Malawian, have been killed in anti-immigration violence over recent weeks, and several African governments have organized planes or buses to repatriate their citizens. One of the continent's wealthiest countries, South Africa, is a magnet for migrant labor while grappling with an unemployment rate above 30%, high crime, and a breakdown in services in many areas. Coming ahead of local government elections in November, Labour analyst Dale McKinley said anti-migrant push has been politically weaponized. Justice Mohammed Umar of the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted a 200 million naira bail to the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress (AAC) and publisher Omoyele Sowore, who is facing alleged cybercrime charges. In a ruling on Tuesday, Justice Umar ordered Sowore to produce 2 sureties. One of the sureties must be a traditional ruler from Sowore's community, while the other must own landed property in Abuja. The court also directed that the sureties be verified by the prosecution. In addition, Justice Umar ordered Sowore to deposit his international passport with the Deputy Chief Registrar of the court pending the determination of the case. The judge thereafter released the defendant to his lawyers and adjourned the case until Monday, July 6 for the opening of Sowore's defense. Justice had earlier in the month ordered the remand of Sowore in Kuje Correctional Center. In a short ruling, Justice Umar ordered Sowore to be kept in the Correctional Center pending the hearing and the determination of his motion to stay of the order for revocation of his bail and bench warrant. The judge has also dismissed Sowore's earlier application seeking a judge's recusal from the case on the ground of alleged bias. The DSS is prosecuting Sowore for allegedly making false claims against the person of President Bola Tinubu by referring to him as a criminal in a post he made on his X and Facebook account. Oyo State Police Command on Monday announced that it has successfully rescued 2 children who were abducted in Lanlate town in Ibarakba East local government area of the state. The command also disclosed that it arrested 4 suspects in connection with the abduction of the children. This was contained in a statement signed by its public relations officer Olayinka Ayonlade. Ayonlade stated that the command received a distress report that armed hoodlums invaded Ebinkpejo village via Lanlate in Ibarakba East local government area. He said the suspect ransacked houses, assaulted residents and abducted 2 children. He added that the victims had been reunited with their family. He also disclosed that some items were recovered from the suspect as exhibit, adding that they will be charged to court accordingly. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Joining me to help analyze our news item is Elvis Elimihele. He is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Elimihele, thank you very much for joining us on the news at 12.
Good afternoon, Solomon. How's your day?
Well, it's a cold one, but we thank God. Let's go to the first story on our news item, which is on politics. NDC have been having their own, the last couple of days. Apparently, it is their turn. And, well, it is good news that the national leader of the party, Serike Dixon, have announced that the party has been granted the key to the INEC portal to be able to upload their candidate. What do you think this signifies?
Yeah, it's a good one, Solomon. The tension of the judgment that came on Friday became, divided Nigerians' opinion towards NDC. And Nigerians have been talking that we want an opposition, credible opposition, to actually be part of the parties on the ballot for 2027 general election. So with what INEC did now, it's a good step in the right direction because NDC has actually, constituted a suit of stay of execution, and they are appealing that case. So as it is, let the status quo remain, and it's good that INEC gave them the opportunity to access their portal to upload their candidates, because this is a political party that have over 1,000 candidates. Across all positions.
And huge followership, as a matter of fact.
In fact, I don't want to even talk of the followership, because INEC must not be seen as, judiciary must not be seen as part of those that want to truncate this Fourth Republic democracy that we enjoy for 27 years. So if they are giving judgment, they should actually weigh the response from the people and also the law itself. I know law, there is no emotion in law, but as it is, let's then not heat up the polity. We have so much on our hands already now that the country is already grappling with. So if we are having other internal crises now, that insecurity, our brothers and sisters that are coming back from South Africa and all these are problems, So we should try and manage the ones that we can manage as it is now, Solomon, and move ahead. So it's a kudos to INEC for granting them access to upload their candidates.
And then contrary to public opinion, INEC was actually against the registration of NDC. We didn't know that information because obviously this what happens when there's a whole lot of distrust in the system, and the INEC was already having its own controversy since the new leadership of INEC came on board. They've been tagged as being partisan and all that. So when the news of the threat to the deregistration of NDC came out, obviously a lot of fingers were pointing to INEC that, hey, you've started your own. So, but it is good to know that at least for once INEC is been trying to be neutral in this situation.
Yeah, Solomon, it's a good one. You see, NDC as it is a baby of the INEC.
Yeah,
you understand, especially this Amupiton's INEC. We saw in February he granted them the license as a registered political party in Nigeria. That's a good one. Then again, when Amupiton was appointed as INEC chairman, one of the first role Nigerians gave to him is to bring integrity into INEC, because we know where INEC is. When you mention INEC in Nigeria today, our mind goes back to 2023 when we were told there was a glitch, and nobody explained, how that glitch came back to us today. And when INEC came like Nicodemus in the night, who came to see Jesus Christ, came in the night and announced the result, that Nigerians now woke up and now heard that a new president had been elected. So with all this antecedent from INEC, Nigerians have lost so much interest in INEC. So we are looking at Amupiton, stand as the umpire, the real umpire that can give Nigerians credible election, free and fair and credible election. We want to see an election that will actually be like the 1993 June 12 election, that Nigerians came out and voted and the vote can't. Forget about what happened after that. But we know too well that election was credible, even though it was an election. And
there was a lot of trust in the electoral system at that time. The electoral system
then was so trustworthy that Nigerians, after voting, they believed that their candidate, the result will be announced as expected. So now that he has done this, let us begin to trace his footsteps from now on. Let it be that he is not taking side. His office is an umpire office. He's not supposed to take side with, this is my own and this is not my own. Even when the court gives judgment, he is a senior advocate of Nigeria and a professor of law for that matter. So he knows much about law. So he should also begin to use his own experience as a very renowned lawyer of that caliber to also my organization must not be seen to join hands in some of the shenanigan judgment that may be coming up. So we want to see INEC doing more of this as time goes on.
Now, let's take a look at the judiciary. The judiciary, as they say, is the hope of the common man. But in Nigeria, it's not exactly been the same. It's not exactly been that true. And the last couple of years, just like INEC, distrust in the judiciary, is been deepening. And we've seen situations where politicians have taken advantage of the system in Nigeria and some of these judges are falling into that trap. You know, they've been complicit in the game that politicians are playing. So because of that, we've seen a few, quite a number of conflicting, judgments. Politicians will go to the state to meet a federal court there, and when that court didn't give them a favorable result, they'll move to another state, and at a time where we are in internet, connectivity here and there, information in an information era where if a judgment from this court, every other court should be able to know about that judgment.
Yes.
You now see the judge
exactly.
You now see the judge giving conflicting, judgment. This seems like it is the same thing here, where the court in Lokoja overturned an earlier judgment. This,
gave himself.
Exactly. So this is obviously creating more problems for the court in Nigeria, especially at this time where where fractured country, where the court is supposed to be the apolitical or detribalized institution, but with this situation going on right now, it is bad news for the judiciary.
Solomon, you see, the framer of judiciary as the third arm of government never made mistake. Let's not look at what is going on in Nigeria today. That's why they have the lower courts, they have the high court, they have magistrate court, they have the high court, they have the appeal court, and they now have the Supreme Court. That in case your judgment goes through any of these and you are not satisfied at the first one, second one, and probably when you get to the apex court, you might get in the judgment, or you may even understand it better why I have not been having judgment in my favor in the lower court at this level. You understand? So when we, INEC, judiciary started having this name, becoming bad when we saw number 4 became number 1 in Imo State. The present governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, Ihedioha was the winner of that election that was INEC announced to us that he was the winner. So Uzodinma went to court, and we now at the end of the whole thing, we now saw that Uzodinma that was number 4 became number 1. We don't know how that judgment came today. So that was when Nigeria now started having this doubt we have in judiciary. Fast forward to when we had 2023 general election, and the next thing that said go to court, and Nigerians went to court. So many things started playing out that we never knew was part of the Electoral Act.
So many
abracadabra came out. So all these ones are some of the area where judiciary, Nigerians are looking like judiciary. Oh, judiciary, in all eyes on judiciary became a slogan in this nation when they went to court in 2023. So fast forward to where we are now, Solomon. We are not saying that judiciary has not done well before now. We saw in 2007, Amechi never campaigned. Amechi won the PDP primaries, but his name was substituted. When people are talking about the present president having hand in PDP matter today, he may have hand in it, but PDP has actually done so badly before now. It is the war that got cracked before any other thing, before the reptile now find a home, in the war. So if PDP has stood upright, everything that happened to PDP today wouldn't have been where they are now. But put that aside, we saw that when Amechi went to court, the first court didn't give Amechi judgment. You understand? He moved further until he got to the last court, and he said, no. Even though you never campaigned, you were the person that was elected in the primaries by PDP. PDP is the party that owns your ticket, and therefore the substituted candidate Celestin Omehia was not part of the primaries. So Amechi, go and take your position. That's how we saw Amechi came into power. So that was the landmark judgment that came from the judiciary. So fast forward to where judiciary is today now. We are telling judiciary, regain back your image as the last hope of the common man, like you have rightly said. Today, judiciary must not be seen as the biggest bag, the highest bidder now have the judgment. Otherwise, democracy will fail, because everything about democracy think around judiciary. When we are talking of interpretation of the constitution, we say, okay, let's go to court. Everything that the politician want to do, in abracadabra form, the court is always there to say, no, you can't do this. This is how it's supposed to be. So that's why every time we are talking about the democracy, we must always remember judiciary must be upright. So some of these judgments that we see that are chunking out in the Nigeria court today, and we are still afraid that judiciary, no, you must dispense your judgment as expected, so that 2020, this democracy that we are enjoying, this fourth republic, you must not be seen as part of those that truncate it. And we don't want judiciary to be mentioned in writing Nigeria history forward. So I think the Chief Justice of the nation should be able to now begin to look into some of these. I run to they
have a disciplinary panel in judiciary.
Yes, NJC.
So why aren't they doing something about stuff like this?
It's not an automatic thing. We see sometimes they come and read out names of judges suspended, judges do and all this one. I think they're actually looking into this. They have to do their investigation and set up panels and all that. So sometimes it may be slow, but I know from now we might hear some of these things affecting some of these judges, that you run from one state to another all in the name of getting judgment, when the court you are running to have the same status. You go to high court in state A, then you go to another high court in state B of the same status and giving different judgment. So these are things that NJC should begin to look at, the judges that are chunking out this kind of judgment, that are tainting their name as the hope about Nigerians concerning judiciary is getting eroded. I think they should begin to restore it, so that when the 2027 general election comes up, most of these things that politicians are conning people. I don't want to say they are smart. They're just being cunning. So they want to manipulate things and see that it works in their favor. But the judiciary should not kowtow with the politicians to truncate our democracy.
Now, most of the issues that befall the huge political parties, right, the ones that even gave PDP a run for their money, PDP, Labour Party, and then the ADC, and now the ADC, they've all fingers have always been pointed to the APC and the President Bola Tinubu, the master strategist, as the mastermind behind the destruction of these political parties. As expected, all eyes are also on the APC and PDP. That looks like they're also masterminding this. Do you think that's the case with the NDC now? Because when you look at the antecedents, NDC was, it was a baby political party. Nobody expected anything from them. And all of a sudden, Peter Obi went there, and they became these huge, gigantic political party. And then all of a sudden, things started falling into places as far as the problems in the party is concerned.
This judgment that came on Friday against NDC is something that Nigerians have put this on. This PMP, nobody have heard of PMP before now, and they said this matter was since 2015, and then it has like 5 years after, and even when you are a political party and you cannot get your house in order, you are deregistered. So we have not heard any. So the judicial officer, the lawyer that went to court on behalf of the PMP, what is his credibility in the party, and what is his status in the party? All these ones are going to be looked into, and I'm happy that they have gone to court. NDC have gone to court, because the only best way you can actually trash out things of this nature in democratic era is the court. That's why we say the court must be upright at all time. So judiciary must not bend in whatever form. And looking at APC and PDP in whatever problem they have, or let me say APC, the ruling party as it is now, every political party, so APC don't want to also be in the ballot and all that. They want the present president to be alone. See, we are not going to accept that. That's why the judiciary must always come out and play their role as expected. We want to see more political parties, because democracy has to do with choice. Now that Nigerians can pick their choice come 2027. So as we move forward now, let's begin to look at the number of political parties that are able to upload their candidates into the INEC portal. NDC have told us now they are doing that. I also heard, you also read it in the news now that even the Wike fashion He's also giving the access to
the INEC portal.
portal to upload their candidate. Then that brings us to the big question now that I mean, PDP, two factions of PDP. Adorama also has their own candidate. What happened to those ones? So these are monumental issues. Why can't the court just make a final pronouncement on this matter so that we know whether there is still an existing PDP or not? Because now the another judgment will come tomorrow. Now you see that even these names that are uploaded are beginning to have issues. I'm talking about the PDP. So the court must stand its ground, especially the apex court, the Supreme Court. This one, the Supreme Court will now refer matter back to the lower court. It's like a father, you know, you are not able to take decision in your family, and you are not telling your son, hey, what do you want me to do? Take decision for me. It's not good enough.
Since you've mentioned it, let's just continue with that. That's the INEC situation portal. You know, so parties, you know, fresh crises coming up in these different political parties, you know, as well as uploading a candidate. Like you've mentioned, the PDP, you have the Wike and the Turaki-led faction,
yes.
or jostling to upload their candidates in that in the INEC portal. You also have a situation in Lagos State, chapter of the PDP, where uncertainty still reigns, as Adediji Johati and Adetokunbo pairs lay claim to the party's governorship ticket. And then state chapter of APC, they're also having their problem. You know, Edo State APC Publicity Secretary said the state had uploaded the name of its candidate into the INEC portal, and that has raised its own dust and and controversy. You know, so what do INEC do in this situation?
Yeah, INEC is not the problem here. The parties and the judiciary are the problem. The party must be able to present a credible candidate to INEC before INEC can say, okay, go on and upload. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Then if there are lacuna, there are issues, then the judiciary should be able to clear it. That's why I said they must stand firmly. Okay, the politicians are, you know, want to be smart, you know, to a zero level, and so I want to quickly substitute. Then the judiciary must make a categorical statement and pronouncement that no, this is not the candidate, this is the candidate. Therefore, INEC do the needful. So INEC is waiting for the political party to put their house in order and do the needful, and the judiciary to actually assist where necessary, to also straighten up things where, you know, there are some hinges, you know, so that the INEC can do its job as expected. So this is the INEC is not the issue here now. The political party and the judiciary must do their job. So if you hear some of the factions, you know, some of these, the governors have interests in some of these aspirant candidates. They have interest in some of them. So some smart governor might want to, you know, substitute names of their candidate for the one that the people actually believe and gave their ticket to. That's where the court comes in.
Why not INEC just, you know, hold on for political parties that are having these issues until the court makes a pronouncement?
But there's already a timetable. INEC is working towards its timetable.
Still, the timetable is being stored by these indecision from the court.
Let them upload. I think there is also a window that between so time to so time when you upload your candidate and the court says otherwise, INEC will throw the candidate out and put the one that
the one that court has been approved.
And once that window elapses, then it turns in that manner. That's why the political party must be very serious. Most of the problem we have in Nigeria politics is actually confirmed from the political parties. The politicians have this greed that if I must have to my own person must be there. I mean, that's why you have been seeing this godfatherism problem. If the governor is leaving, you want to put a stooge there that will be answerable to him when he's in his bedroom and say, I don't want to leave your bedroom now with your wife. The governor will quickly pack up his load and leave the bedroom. And who does that? I mean, it's the people that's supposed to own who lead them, not one politician, because people gave you opportunity to be in that office, and when you are now leaving the office, you are now imposing another person on the people. It's not done that way. Democracy thrives around people that owns it, not just one politician. So that's why the political party must not toe the line of one powerful politician, because you see why it has, because it's raining like this, Solomon, is because most times these politicians come in a disguised form, now come and start sponsoring the political party financially. So you use that one out to now, you know, lock up the political party because it's now at their palm, because they are the one that brings in the huge fund to sponsor the political party. Before now, it was not like that. Every member of political party pays dues, for the political party to function. So when political party now began to allow one person to hijack the instrument of the political party as a result of being this financier, things began to change, and that person now began to dictate the tone of where every leadership of the party has to go. Oh, I don't like this chairman any longer. Then before you know, the chairman is thrown out. It's not supposed to be in that manner.
Well, from politics, let's go over to the xenophobic situation in South Africa, where another batch of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa arrived in Lagos today as part of the federal government ongoing voluntary repatriation program. The Air Peace flight carried about 271 Nigerians landing at the Murtala Mohammed Airport. Meanwhile, the situation is escalating as South African police deployed to head off unrest and protest, in the unofficial deadlines set for by anti-migrant groups for undocumented foreign nationals to leave, which has already pushed thousands to flee, both documented and undocumented. This is where it's becoming weird. This was supposed to be targeted as undocumented migrant, which is fair,
very fair,
but in reality that's not what it is. It is much deeper than that. They just don't want to see foreigners at all, but because there have been situations where people with documents have been killed, and even those whose documents were expiring rather. There have been reports that whenever they go to renew their documents, they meet with several roadblocks, by immigration officers. What's your take?
Yeah, it's sad that an African country is doing this one to its fellow brothers. You understand? If they were not coward, the real foreigners that are in South Africa are even the white, because our Africa continent is for the black. It's just because they were coward, they are cowards, and they don't know those people that are even fighting them. That's why you see they are venting their frustration, among their on their
fellow African brothers
and sisters. You see, it is their failure to actually do the needful. The another person, the worst person that made this to thrive is the president. Cyril Ramaphosa has been somebody that is not worthy to be a leader, because he writes on his nose, this is happening to African brothers. At least even these youth that are doing this, even if they don't know the history of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, supposed to know where South Africa is coming from, and some of these African countries, the role they played in making South Africa a sovereign nation today, an independent nation, before all these miscreants on the street are now saying nationals should leave our country. Some years back, when they were under apartheid, can they come out and
it wasn't even too long. It was in the 90s, early 90s.
It was 1994 they got independent, and just between 1994 and now, look at what is going on. We're just talking about 32, just within 32 years. You see, South Africa is now saying every other Africa country national from an African country should go home. What do they mean by this? You see, countries like Nigeria have been in existence since 1960. We accommodated them even when they were in trouble, when they were under apartheid. But
we accommodated several African countries.
Nigeria government was paying school fees for some of their leaders, who are their leaders today.
That's where the big brother of Africa, giant of Africa, came from.
I like the press conference that the National Association of Nigeria Students gave yesterday. Yes, it is time we have to actually let them know that big brotherhood is stopping. Let it stop. If you can do this,
do we even have the capacity for the big brother anymore? Because even we are citizens
we still do. We know Nigeria government is good at doing for the outsider. Now look at what last time Benin Republic. Did they not send troops there last time when we were facing insecurity here? Nigeria government still do that, but now we should be able to, if the government is not even ready to take action, the citizens of this nation, because the people that are coming now, they are brothers and sisters, because even when they come now, the government is not going to take care of them. And you know what that means now, some of the families are now going to be overpopulated, because these people are coming to be squatting. Some of them don't have homes. They never. Some of them have not been able to build houses before.
Some of them were born in South Africa. They have businesses, they have livelihood, they have been uprooted. They're closing
their businesses, and then we should not allow your business to thrive here. Then you now repatriate profit and interest from here to South Africa to boost the economy for this miscreant that are driving us to be enjoying. We should also find a way to grant their business here. Yes, tit for tat. This is the time we have to do that. That's what I'm after. That's just it. Their business must not flourish here, because the tax, the profit they make from here goes back to their country.
Before we talk about the tit for tat, there have been some people that making positives out of this situation. I mean, I spoke to someone yesterday that was saying that, well, he agrees with this xenophobic attack because, well, it is high time other African countries go and develop their own, their own countries, on why I didn't agree with him. On one other part, he said, well, we have black Americans in South Africans. Why are they not
driving them?
That's
why I said they are cowards. If they actually know the people that are their problem, they should face the white that came to now make South Africa their own homeland. Even when they are white men, Africa continent is for the black.
In other, what he was trying to imply is that when you can't take care of your children, you don't expect your neighbors to take care of your children for you. Why the government of Nigeria cannot take care of Nigerians? Nigerians will be treated badly outside of Nigeria.
But in this case, Solomon, there is an adage in my place that you have to drive the fowl, you have to drive the hawk away before you now blame the fowl that you didn't move well. You understand? We have always known Nigeria government. Part of what we are going through now is because we are not valued at home. That's why our neighbors are also playing, treating us in this manner. If I look at Ghanaians went home with pride. When they were leaving South Africa that day, they were waving their flag. They were happy going home. Yes, and because the government of Ghana has made arrangement on how to, receive them and reintegrate them into the society and assist them to pick up again. But here in Nigeria, now these guys are coming. They are coming to now begin to,
so much uncertainty.
A lot, be cladding. They are coming. That's where they did. That's done. So when you want to blame Nigeria government, it's not today we start blaming Nigeria government. We have had a failed government that have never recognized that we are citizens, we are in existence. But the way South Africa is actually now marching on us, South Africa should know that even before now, there were some past government in Nigeria that took their matter to the peak before they got to where they are today. So we should not allow them.
Well, I've heard one or two persons say, well, this is karma. Remember, there was a time we Nigerians did the same thing to Ghana. The popular Ghana must go. So now other countries are saying, well, Nigeria must go.
Even before the popular Ghana must go of 1983, Ghana did it to Nigeria first. So Nigeria So
we just retaliated.
Yes, Ghana did it first before the 1983 Ghana must go that came up. And even at this level we are, Solomon, Africa is supposed to be talking. If we are talking of, we want to be talking of one regional currency. We want to be talking of, you can move from one part of Africa to another without talking of a visa. We should not begin to think of that. We should be closer home. In Europe, you don't begin to look for a visa to begin to move from one European country to another. Yeah. They see themselves as brothers.
There's a free movement.
And that's why they have this connectivity that you can take a train from one part of London today, and you are moving to France.
And they have a continental leadership that works. The European Union.
So what in all this? Have you heard Africa Union made any statement on all this? They've not made any statement.
Now talking about that, there seems to be controversy on how to go about, this in Nigeria. I remember there was a huge argument in the Senate between Senator Adams Oshomole and majority of the senators in the House on how to how to come about this, whether to do it tooth for tat, and that generated discussions for a while, because some of the biggest companies in Nigeria are South African companies, and but if you send them packing, talk about the Nigerians that work there.
Are you saying
you
that?
know.
Are you saying that if South Africa are sent out of Nigeria today, there are no credible Nigerians that can man those companies as expected?
Well, if you have a government that can do a proper job about it, then that wouldn't be a problem. But
Yes, but an emergency nature of this nation, look at what South Africa is going. Their policemen are turned up a blank face to what they are doing to other nationals. The government is not speaking about it. When you have an issue of this nature, there's what we call action plan. We have to come up with our own action plan to actually no, we have to do this. There are credible Nigerians that can man those companies today, and they work as expected. South Africa, the Nigerians that are coming back, most of them are in private business. They've killed their business over there. We are South Africans not employed in those businesses. Nigerians employ South Africans. So if they cannot value Nigerians and Nigerian businesses are closed, we should also tell them, you live here, live your businesses. We know how we manage it. Look at what they're saying. They say about it doesn't matter what we are saying, leave our country. Even when some of the Nigerians are saying, but you know that I have an employees of your countries in my business, and I'll be paying taxes and all that. They say it doesn't matter. Leave our country. That's what we are saying. Look at how bold, audacity that they tell fellow Africans to leave their country. This is a country that everybody rally around to get independent just some 30 years back. And today, look at how they are paying back. So let every other African country, since Africa Union is not working as expected, every other African country should be able to take decision. But someone close their borders and say, yes, you cannot even come again. We don't need you. So let's also let them know. No, there's no man that is an island. America today have every national in the world developed America.
I mean that's a greatest strength of America.
That's even the strength of America till tomorrow. So what's the big deal? If South Africa say we should go home, they are coming back home. Yeah, they are going to suffer because we don't have a government, and I pray God will give them the strength. But Nigerians now, if the government cannot do it, this is the time Nigerian students have started it yesterday. Civil society organizations should also support them. Let us begin to occupy South Africa embassies now. Let them also go back home. Then we now begin to talk of the next way forward.
So how should South Africa pay for this? Because so far we've seen little sanctions here and there from one or two African countries, but that's it. Nothing overwhelming. Unlike what should have happened.
That's where the AU ought to have come in. The AU have to have come in and said, no, we will not allow this slide. Let these sanctions come upon South Africa. Look at the sanction that is upon Russia because of Ukraine war. That is a collaboration of the EU. That no, we want to take over another country that from us, that is part of us. We will not allow. Today, Russia is most like an island in the Committee of Nations of the European Union.
There's also North Korea.
Yes.
That.
So we should. Africa Union is supposed to also mentor such sanction to South Africa, because what South Africa is doing is not only Nigeria now. Most of the African countries are affected. Why is Africa Union sleeping even when there's fire on top of the roof of their homes?
Quickly, let's see if we can talk about these in like 2 minutes as we round up. Court grants over a 200 million naira bail in the alleged cyber crime that was instituted by the DSS. After, according to DSS, falsely claiming that the person of the President Bola Tinubu is a criminal in a post made on his X and Facebook account. What's your take on all these situations?
Yeah, Solomon bail is right by law, but the only thing I'm seeing there is that the conditions look so stringent. But I know Showore has gone into seen more of this, so I'm
sure he's prepared for this.
They will arrange his bail and he will come out, but that does not stop him from what he believes. You understand? Yes, because when you are a father and the only treatment you know how to sanction your children is how to pick the cane and flog, a time is coming the child will say, daddy will only flog. I mean, you have outlived your usefulness. Yeah. So
they will only arrest me.
They will only arrest me. Look, did you not hear what he said? He said, before I came this morning, I already packed my prison bag. So it is no longer an issue. So if the government of Nigeria knows that the only thing they can use to bully Nigeria, if we speak, is to haul us into the prison yards, and at the end of the day bring up a stringent bail conditions, it's a nullity. People will speak. This is democracy.
Now, but this is supposed to, as created a debate, because this is more like a gray area as far as freedom of speech is concerned. So where do you fit personally into him calling the president a criminal?
Yeah, but listen, before the APC administration came into power, we have heard people call presidents even worse names.
True.
They came to power and brought these cyber crime and cyber bully laws.
I mean, they call President
kindergarten. They call him kindergarten. They call Jonathan a drunkard. There was no name. They never called.
They called this man a monkey, an ape. What was this? Olusegun Obasanjo.
So is there any name that we have not seen? But because of the way they are very intolerant to Nigerians, but they used all this language, for past Nigerian leaders. Nobody took them to court. Now they came up now and came up with law to gag Nigerians. That's why Nigerians must be able to tell them that this is democracy. We have the freedom for speech. But as it is, even he has spoken already. It's in court. That is how it's supposed to be. If you say you have offended the government, you have taken him to court, it's coming out. But that will not solve. It will not solve what he believes, Solomon.
But
it will only embolden him.
But how do Showore defend against this now? Because I mean, the DSS they're using cyber.
He has already told them that even one of the persons that the president appoint as ambassador now also use the same language on the president. But today he has been paid. He has been rewarded by being made an ambassador. So it's not. It's just that they cherry pick those ones they want to pick and say, okay, this one because of what the role you are playing in the society, you will now be in the behind bars. Then this one, be my spokesperson, even though you have abused me before. I want you to carry the toga to now begin to polish my name as going forward.
Mr. Elimihele, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure. Too many interesting topics. I wish we have time to talk, but we have to go. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, have a nice time.
That was Elvis Elimihele, a public affairs analyst. Still on to the world news at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM for a quick look at what's happening outside Nigeria. The United States Supreme Court on Monday issued a series of major rulings relating to President Donald Trump, including 3 that went against him and 1 that went in his favor. The issues decided ranged from the president's authority over independent government regulators to voting rights and a sexual assault judgment. In a 6-to vote, the Supreme Court increased Trump's executive powers to fire members of independent government agencies without having to give a reason. The court did this by backing the Republican president sacking of a Democratic Federal Trade Commission FTC member, Rebecca Slaughter, expanding his powers over the government and overturning a 1935 precedent that had recognized the authority of Congress to protect leaders of certain regulatory agencies from presidential removal at will. Trump dismissed Slaughter last year without providing a reason. It is understood that the two disagreed over policy. Lower courts upheld a claim, and the move violated rules Congress put in place to protect the members of dozens of independent government agencies. The decision by the Supreme Court that Trump has authorities to was authorized to fire her without a reason expected to have wide-ranging implications. Since the start of his second term in January last year, Trump has aggressively sought to expand the president's executive powers as he works to transform the U.S. government and put political allies in key positions. However, in an exception to the decision, the court refused to allow Trump to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, as it stood firm in a 5-4 decision to preserve the central bank's independence against an unprecedented challenge by the president. No other president since the central bank's founding in 1913 has sought to oust a federal governor, and the court ultimately blocked Trump from removing Cook from her post, for now providing a safeguard for the Fed especially. Trump had cited unproven mortgage fraud allegations, which Cook denies as justification for the firing. Cook called the allegations a pretext to fire her over monetary policy differences as Trump presses the Fed to cut interest rate. In another blow to Trump, the court upheld a state law that allows mail-in ballots mailed by but received after election day to be counted. This 5-4 ruling rejected the Republican National Committee's challenge to a Mississippi law that allows mail-in ballots to be tallied as long as they are postmarked by election day and arrived within 5 business days of the vote. It overturned a lower court's decision that had deemed Mississippi's law to be inconsistent with U.S. statute that set the timing of federal elections for the presidency, Senate, and House of Representatives. In another blow to Trump, the court rejected the president's efforts to overturn a jury judgment that he assaulted, abused, and defamed E. Jean Carroll and must pay her $5 million. On May 9, 2023, the Federal Civil Court in Manhattan found Trump liable for sexual abuse against the magazine columnist in a New York department store in 1996. Trump fired back at the Supreme Court's decision not to consider the jury's ruling. Carroll wrote in a book published in 2019 that Trump sexually assaulted her 23 years earlier in a fitting room. The billionaire called her a nut job, which Carroll said was defamatory. Finally, on a sports news, Godi Gakpo was denied an emotional winner as Morocco came from behind to beat the Netherlands on penalty in Monterrey to showcase their World Cup credentials and reach the last 16. Morocco dominated much of the game but were thwarted by inspired goalkeeping from Bert Veckenburn and the woodwork before Gakpo, who had announced the loss of his unborn son on Saturday, smashed him 18 minutes from time after a lightning-fast break. But in a grandstand finish, Issa Diop thumped home a stoppage time header, sending the game to extra time and ultimately penalties. The Dutch missed 3 of their spot kicks, which allowed Ismail Saibari to seal a 3-2 win and book a date with Canada in Houston on Saturday, 18 hours BST. And that's the world news at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon Ofem. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.